Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Grüns is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Grüns.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
Holiday tips and fun facts from Paul, Kristen, and Dexter at Total Wine & More.
The custom of bumping glasses with the cheers came from old Rome. When in Rome, cheers!
A pork crown roast with cranberry stuffing deserves a ripe, fruit-forward Cabernet from Paso Robles. Let me help you find the perfect bottle.
Looking for the right wine for a meaningful gift? Consider me your wine concierge.
Whether you're entertaining or just bringing the wine, we'd love to share our always low prices and ridiculous selection with you. This holiday, now offering same-day delivery at TotalWine.com. Cheers!
We are doing a live show, our first live show in a while. We are at Fixology Repair, downtown Minneapolis, 601 South Marquette Street, but that's the difficult way to find it. The easy way to find it is go in the skyway, go up by where the Dunn Brothers is, just south of the Wells Fargo building, right across from Taco John's, right across from My Burger. I walk by this location all the time. John is now accusing me of stalking him regularly, but really, I have business in the area. Have to go by here. This is the Russo-Souhan Show. I'm here with Michael Russo of The Athletic, theathletic.com. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune. This is our podcast network, the Minnesota Sports Podcast Network. All the shows are at spn.com. High school show with John Millay, basketball with John Krasinski, football with Tim Yoder, baseball with Roy Smalley, my personal show with Ryan Shaver of Care 11, and we're about to add some shows, but this is the original, the OG, the original.
The trendsetter,
gangster show with Michael Russo. How was Mike Yo doing, Michael?
He was doing great until the game started. Then he looked pretty bad. He looked like blood was coming out of his eyes at one point when they showed him on. Boy, you were you were all over Twitter last night with your little jokes.
I had a couple drinks.
Yeah.
So I had drinks and I knew you were sitting there,
Yeah.
and you're no longer on deadline.
That is true.
So I don't have to feel guilty about tweeting somebody who's on deadline.
No doubt.
I know you're pretty much a slacker now. You do really no work at all during a game or ever. So I could pepper you with questions.
Yeah, no, it was funny. You were a couple years too late with the tweets, which was what made the shtick work. Yeah.
Yes.
So it was good, but I got a couple fire yos last night on Twitter from fans. They thought they were being clever until I saw it like 20 times. Then I just started muting people. No, I'm just kidding. And you have Zippos here, John? Nice. So for like the last, I was given this gift of a really cool cigar lighter, and I've been carrying it around for like 2 months. It's just been sitting in my backpack, and today at the St. Louis airport, it was confiscated. And the woman admonished me, the TSA agent. She's like, you can't travel with this. I'm like, I have been for 2 months. So clearly TSA, she was good, but clearly the TSA has let me get by for a long time.
We don't want to know what gets through TSA.
Yeah, no.
Because I think
exactly.
everything gets through TSA.
No, yeah. Well,
TSA
definitely a lighter got through for the last couple months.
Actually, last time I was by here, John was telling me about, we always talk about Fixology fixing watches and selling watches. They have some really high-end stuff out at the mall. He was also actually showing me the Zippo collection out here, both hand warmers, battery replacements, battery rechargers. My wife definitely wants those hand warmers because she can't stand winter. Cell phone covers. We'll have John on later to talk about inventory.
You get a Green Bay Packers cell phone cover. Redskins, Jaguars, Steelers.
The Packers cell phone cover works unless Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, and then it just stops doing anything at all. That was an attempted joke that fell completely flat.
No,
I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was hilarious.
So we'll have John on the show.
There's the Browns one clearly on the bottom row.
And that was your attempt at a joke that fell completely flat. I guess it's not a football crowd. We'll stop making football jokes. We'll talk some hockey.
It is nice to see some old friends here. Vicky and Clyde here. Gus, Ken, Luke.
Well, I will plug the network. We did live shows at Tom Reed's. We brought a lot of people in. We did live shows at Hell's Kitchen for a while, brought a lot of people in. We would like to find another live place for selfish reasons because we like hanging out with the people who come to our shows. So if you know a business that actually wants to hire us to do shows at their location, let us know. But we're happy to be at Fixology today. We'll have John Hedges come on, tell us about his shop later. Also want to thank Twill in the Dining Galleria, Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, and Todd Moritz from Sandvold Financial Group, all the sponsors of this program. All right, what's up with the Wild right now?
Hey, big win last night, 6-1, 6-2. They played well. They're a strange team, man.
They are.
I mean, when they lose, they get destroyed. It's crazy. The perception of this team right now, it's like, the fan base is all up in arms, and understandably so, but it's crazy. If you look at it, they've lost 4 times in regulation since Christmas. I mean, that's the 5th best record in the league. Since November 9th, they have the 5th best record in the league. Just think about that. Since November 9th, they have that almost 3 months. They have the 5th best record in the league, and yet they are dying to make the playoffs here. That's how crazy this conference is. I mean, that should not be. You have a run like this, and you should be well into it. But because of the slow start that they had, it put them behind the 8 ball. Then it's hard to catch up in this league. And then when they lose, they've had 3 of those 4 losses have been just absolutely horrific. And so it creates this concern, I think, amongst the fan base that they stink, but then 2, that they're going to be able to, if they even get into the playoffs, be able to contend, because this is largely the same team at before. So I'll be interested to see what Chuck Fletcher has in store going into the trade deadline. I talked to him last night before the game, going into it, and he was very positive that he thought that they were going to play really well that night and respond to the Dallas loss. But I asked him point blank, "Are you gun shy after the Hansel trade?" He said, "No." He goes, "Now, going into this deadline, I'd like to add, but I'm not going to trade a 1st-round pick again. And they don't have their 2nd-round pick, and they don't have a 4th. They do have 3/3. They have movable assets, like you have." Obviously, their prospects, which I don't think they want to trade after trading Tuck, but they got the Sokolovs and the Lodnias and the Soucies and the Sealers, and they have 3/3. There are movable players on the roster right now. You have Matt Cullen. Bruce has not been happy with his game really all season long. So I think whether they're in it or not, I think there's a good chance that if Pittsburgh wants them and the Wild can get a asset for him, that they will trade Matt Cullen. It wouldn't shock me at all. And up until the Jonas Brodin injury, and if you hadn't heard, I reported today that he's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks after surgery on his left hand. Now it changes everything in terms of trading a D. Mike Riley's been on the block for 2 months. They haven't been able to move him, or haven't at least been willing to move him, and now I think it's even harder to move him right now. The one guy on the team that I can see them maybe, if you're going to try to make a big deal from and add salary back, is a Charlie Coyle. I think it makes a lot of sense. He's the one core guy that's not making a ton of money, which makes him movable. He's not having a great year, although he's playing better lately. And I think he's somebody that you can get something. So if all of a sudden you feel like you should add a Ryan McDonough or a Michael Grabner or a Mike Hoffman or somebody, maybe you can work out some sort of bigger deal other than just a rental. This is just off the top of my head, spitballing, but it just, where I've always thought that Coyle potentially could be moved this summer just because he's not the guy long term, and they are going to want to re-sign Dumba and Zucker. Maybe that is when you look at the fact that they don't have a lot of futures that they're willing to part with after trading so many futures in the last couple of years. You might actually have to look at making a quote-unquote hockey trade right now. And there's teams like Edmonton and the Rangers and Ottawa that are looking to make deals, and maybe you can make a significant deal.
By the way, there is an extra chair here for you gentlemen, and Michael will give up his chair if you guys want to sit. Just let us know. I don't want anybody uncomfortable. We appreciate you coming out. As always, Zucker scores another goal last night. We're talking here on Wednesday afternoon, by the way. What has he changed? the perception of him? Has he changed what people think his ceiling might be, or he's just a guy having a good year?
No, I think this is now going to be, this is 3 20-goal seasons, maybe a 30-goal season, hopefully for them and him, at this point. You look at his first year that he hit 21 and he broke his collarbone, he was well on a pace for 30, 34 goals. So this is him. He's streaky, like all goal scorers. I mean, this guy, remember, before this stretch of scoring 7 goals in 9 games, he had 1 goal in 16, I think it was. He's a streaky guy. But man, is he playing great right now. He's the purest of their goal scorers, I still think, on their team. Obviously you got Eric Stahl there too, but you look at that beautiful goal that he scored last night. That's special hands. That's a special goal. His speed changes everything, and that's why I just think that he's imperative to re-sign. The question is, what can you sign him for? He just watched guys like Nino and Granlund get over 5, but that's why I've been saying for a long time, if he had another breakout year this year, which it certainly looks like he's on pace to have career highs and everything, the one thing to combat him maybe getting major dollars is to say to him, he's married, he's got a baby, he's got a stepdaughter here, he just bought a beautiful home in Edina. What you do is he's commit to his wife's in our business, and they're huge into the philanthropic community here. So what you got to do to me, to get him to come below the 5s is say, here's 6-7 years.
Right.
Give him the term, and just know that with a guy with this speed and at his age, he's not going to all of a sudden, barring major catastrophic lower body injuries, become me on the ice, like he's lugging a cow or something. You know what I mean? So he's somebody that I would give him long term if it brings the dollars down to a tolerable amount that also allows you to give Dumba a quality contract.
I have a follow-up question on that and on trading in general. Do want to thank Twill in the Dining Galleria, twillmn.com, Twill on Instagram. I am wearing a Twill hat and a Twill shirt here that I bought myself at Scott Dayton's shop. Highly recommend stopping by and checking out their place. We've actually done our show from Twill before, and it's an easy place to shop. Very easy people to deal with, easy parking, easy everything, and like I said, I wear their clothing.
Hi, I'm Stacy Souhan. I love Twill, Scott Dayton's shop in the Edina Galleria. Twill takes the stress out of shopping by offering updated traditional fashion. I know that if Jim goes in there shopping alone, I will like what he buys, whether it's pajamas, flannel shirts, or suits. I plan to recommend Twill to my daughter when she has to buy wedding party gifts and attire. Twill in the Edina Galleria will bring your fashion game to a championship level.
So, Fletcher, we don't know. We don't know what his future is, right? You have a team that's teetering on the edge of the playoffs. You have Parisian Suter still advancing in age and still making a lot of money. Do you think deep down Fletcher feels like he just has to go for it as much as he can, or do you feel like this isn't a team you really invest in?
Well, the dynamic here that's hard to really predict is that he's in the last year of his contract.
Right.
Now, I asked him last night, I said, do you have carte blanche to make a move, to make a significant, maybe even franchise-altering move, which he said that he's been given no indication that he doesn't have. Now, I have sent a query to Craig Leopold on that same question, and he hasn't responded. So I don't know what that means. But the other thing is, the concern when you have a GM in the final 2 months of his contract is that he does moves to save his own job, and that's why, as an owner, to me, there's got to be oversight there. If all of a sudden he is going to move a Luke Cunnin for something, you better be darn sure that this is the guy you want making that move if he's potentially not going to be the GM next year. And only Leopold and his confidants probably know that for sure. I would suggest that at this point, if you're a GM with 2 months left in your contract and you haven't been re-upped here, it is very clear. This isn't even an elephant on the room. The elephant is standing on the table here. If he is not re-signed by now, this team has to not just make the playoffs, but probably go on a run. That's just my own thing. Otherwise, he'd be extended by now. So that's the thing. So getting down, that's the dynamic that, Chuck can say, all right, this is too high of a price for me to pay for a team that he admits is not nearly as good as last year. I mean, last year he said that he went for it because he thought that he knew then, because of expansion and salary cap complications, that was going to be the deepest team that they've had here in his tenure and ever. And so now they're not nearly as deep. So do you go and make a more significant move? I think there are moves to be made that can make this team better. The question is, like, to me, I just always thought that Hansel was the wrong guy for this team. I just thought
and you called that before the trade.
Yeah,
right.
and I just think he's slow. I didn't see the fit. It took Eric Holla and dropped him to the fourth line when Holla was playing his best hockey that month. And so it changed a lot of dynamics on that team that really significant. Where if you look at this team, I do think there are guys out there. Like, I think a guy like a Mike Hoffman would be perfect here. A Grabner, would strengthen them up. A goal, scoring wingers like that, I think would be good. And what it would allow you to do is, let's just say Coyle's not in any deal. It'd allow you to put Coyle at center, drop Eriksson Ek to fourth line, trade Cullen. There are moves to be made, and if you trade Cullen and you can massage the salary cap, maybe you can bring up Cunnin for the stretch run. At a minimum, these guys will be up for the playoffs. Like, again, there's no salary cap in the. Remember Marco Scandella, the first year the Wild made the playoffs under Chuck Fletcher in 2013. Scandella spent all year in the minors because they couldn't afford him, and then the second the season ended, he was called up, and it wasn't because he was, he was stuck there, and that's kind of where Cunnin was right now. And so there's a chance that we see these guys. But so I think there are guys that can help this team. The question is, and what Chuck Fletcher says in my story that I just posted on The Athletic, is what he's got to really think of is that there's only so many ice time to go around. Now, here's just an example, and this isn't Chuck talking, but what I took him to mean is, like, I think the Wild are intrigued about maybe bringing a Ryan McDonagh here. But if you bring Ryan McDonagh here, now this is before Brodin got hurt. If you bring Ryan McDonagh here, how does that affect ice time? Where's his power play time? How does that affect Suter's ice time, Brodin's ice time? So that's the stuff he's thinking about. And then what Chuck does say in the story is, in terms of getting a scoring winger here, is that he's got to make sure that where is he going to play on the power play? So in other words, you have a unit of Nino, Stahl, and Zucker. That's a really quality unit. You have another unit with Koivu, let's just say Koivu, Parisi. It was actually, Koivu, Parisi, and I believe Nino, and then Stahl. No, what is it? Koivu, Granlund, and Nino, and then Zucker with Stahl and Parisi. Well, now you add a scoring winger. Where's he playing? So what he's thinking is like, it's ubiquitous. Everybody would love to get a scoring winger right now. But if I get him, am I knocking Zucker off the power play and then creating the problem that I had last year where I was downgrading people that shouldn't deserve to be downgraded? So that's the type of stuff that he's thinking about. Is, we could all say, if you're a Wild fan, go get Rick Nash, go get Mike Hoffman, go get this. But if it's just, a third-round pick and a minor leaguer for one of these guys, and he gets here, well, who's coming off the power play? Who's coming off PK? So this is the type of stuff they're thinking. So I think a lot will depend on what happens these next 9 games. The Wild play 5 in a row at home, then go on a 3-game road trip to New York, and then come back to play San Jose, trade deadline, St. Louis. So now, all right, how do they play in this next 9 games over 3 weeks? Who gets hurt over these next times? Like yesterday, I think that Chuck Fletcher really wanted to add a scoring winger. Today, he just lost Jonas Brodin for a month. So now, do you have to say, all right, I got to go get a left D? Because God knows, I can't imagine that they're very comfortable right now with Olofsson and Riley as your second and third left pair, with guys that are, Soucy and Sealer, who, they're good prospects, but to throw them in a playoff race right now for NHL debut, that's pretty tough. So that's the type of thing I'm thinking about. Did you just take my picture?
I took your picture, and
just to get me to shut up.
It's been 12 minutes.
Yeah,
it was good. Listen, I'm not complaining.
Think we have a throat lozenge?
It was a good 12 minutes.
Yeah,
you need another Starbucks.
Yeah,
and you notice we were right across from the Dunn Brothers, and you brought a Starbucks in here.
Well, yeah. If they sponsor our show, that'll change.
Well, good point. John,
you know what I'm liking looking over here, John, is out in the distance. That's the Wells Fargo lines where you go to get your international currency. Yes, yeah, that's where you go get it. Anyway.
He's on fire.
Yeah.
He's absolutely. Do you want to come up, John?
That's where I
talk
got my
about your place?
pesos a couple weeks ago.
Stop acting shy. Come on. You're among friends. You want to interview him or should I?
No, you.
Okay, then we'll do this. Okay. We're short on mics today, so we're going to do this. Michael's not really comfortable being up here and not being able to talk where everybody can hear him. So he's probably just going to yell over us. He's mad at me now.
He's just going to look at his phone.
He's angry at me. So, John, this is your new location.
True.
I've been to the place out at the Mall of America, 3rd floor by Nordstrom's. I've been out there many times. I've had work done out there. This is a newer shop. Again, Skyway, right south of the Wells Fargo building, as Michael just pointed out, right across from Dunn Brothers, right by Taco John's and My Burger. Tell me about this place, how it might differ in products and services, and what you have on the wall over there, because, like I said, my wife is interested in some of those products.
Well, this spot does differ quite a bit from the mall. We do not have a jeweler on site. The relaxing massage Zen center next door, I don't think would take too kindly to the noise that's generally involved with jewelry repair. So we had thought maybe we want to expand into that at some point, but I just don't see that being a thing. So cell phone repair, watch repair, we do primarily all on site unless it's like a mechanical movement we don't have the tools for. But it's been going pretty good. We've been open just over a month. We have a big assortment of cell phone cases, to which Jim was pointing out on the wall. The Zippo hand warmers, which we got in thinking we'd get all these out-of-towners who are afraid of the cold. I don't know. Have you sold any of these yet? Not yet. Yeah. So they're all available right now. They are also portable batteries, essentially, as well. I have 2-hour and 6-hour limits on those. So, but yeah, it's been going pretty well. The Skyway is kind of a different animal than the Mall of America. You get more, the locals who work and live down here that come through versus the mall. You get a lot more tourism crowds. So it's been going really well, though. I mean, for only being here a month, it's definitely spread quickly that we're here. So then the more the merrier, I say. Though next time we might have to get chairs for
stadium seating next time.
Yeah.
Stadium seating, or as I recommended earlier, beanbag chairs for everybody. I think beanbag chairs and beers.
But see, what happens is when we're not doing a podcast and when there aren't people around and we have beanbag chairs, inevitably employees sleep. So
all I know is your coworker looks like a maniacal worker. He's like always doing something. So I don't think you have to worry much about that.
Yeah, I think he's actually really bored right now. Parnier does. I'm personally only here one day a week. Otherwise, Parnier is my man on the ground here, and he can take care of just about everything. So
I can tell.
Yeah, I like it.
Do you have a hockey question for Michael? You always have a hockey question.
I mean, I usually do, though. To be honest, I've kind of been working, so I missed the first monologue of the show. So I don't know if it's been addressed yet, but I actually did notice how quickly you went into hockey on this show as opposed to most shows where it's like talk for 15 minutes.
I don't know why that was.
Something else.
Have you done anything funny we should talk about? We'll check in with them here.
We'll think about it. Bought something odd. So I don't know. I think I will pass on the hockey question. Okay. I'm sure the Ravens haven't been able to ask a question live crowd here.
We will let them do that now.
All right.
Well, John, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll talk more about your shop as the show goes on. Thanks for having us here. Did any of you have any questions for Michael? Feel free to step up and take my mic. Oh, Vicky, you can't wait. Come on.
It is nice to see Vicky back here.
Yeah. It's good to be back.
Yes, this is why we got to get more live shows,
Yeah,
Jim.
we do. Lots of people are missing them. Not just me and Luke. Right?
Clyde, though, probably saved a lot of money on gas and parking the last 3 months.
That's true. But
and tickets.
But the parking is more expensive here than back at the other place, but neither here nor there. You think Pittsburgh might pick up Cullen again?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. They need a center, and it's just, I just think that Bruce has just not been trustworthy. He doesn't have a lot of trust in the way that Cullen's playing right now, and so I think that they'd be fine keeping him. But before, I thought the only way they'd trade him is if they fell out of it. I mean, this is why I wrote it in October in that first story. I mean, I essentially almost quoted Jim Rutherford saying it, which that maybe this isn't the last time they're together, but now. seeing him scratch the other night, and just I think that even Matt would probably welcome it at this point. And that's just my own thing. And then the other thing is, he's got an incentive-laden contract that if this team does go on a run in a playoff, which would be awesome, but they're going to get cap implications heading into next year. So it might be better to start to think, like, Gary, maybe you make a move. So
yeah, that would be the end of his career, I take it.
Well, I mean, especially if he won a third straight cup.
Well, that'd be a nice way to go out.
Yeah. Let's put it this way: at this point, if he's going to play next year, it's probably going to have to be Pittsburgh or bust.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be back here.
Yeah. Thanks.
So,
Thank you, Vicky. Anybody else want to come up and ask a question? Oh, Luke's leaning. Here we go.
Did you leave your kids in the car, or where are they?
I left it running.
Yeah.
We got a movie going. Well, two things. First of all, Dumbo, what the heck? He's been playing out of his mind, both offensively as well as, for the most part, defensively responsible. Yeah. And then the other thing, I'm a relatively new hockey fan in the last 3 years, but do trade deadline trades of the level that the Wild have been making, do they ever work for any team?
Not really. No, I mean the one that comes right into my head always is Doug Waite and Mark Recchi. I think it was in 2006 when Carolina made those moves and they jumped ahead of everybody and made them. I think the Waite move happened about 3 weeks before the deadline, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. But yeah, no, I mean, I remember the Tkachuk trade with Atlanta. And I mean, these things, Peter Forsberg, I think, was with Nashville. I mean, teams that give up these things very rarely, yeah, I mean, those things just don't seem to work. That's why, to me, it's like last year, if to me, Eves would have been a better trade or Yannick Hansen or something like that. And I think this year, too, I don't think the Wild should, even if they could, go after the Evander Kanes or those guys. To me, there are other guys out there that actually would help. Like, I don't necessarily think that you need to go get a top 9 guy. Like, go get a third or fourth liner. Because I really still think that one reason why this team stinks on the road is because their third and fourth lines have been so bad all year. And so I just think it's easier to check the top guys on the line when you're not scared of the third and fourth lines. Now, they were good last night, and a lot of it's because that third line looked really good last night with Coyle, Cullen, and Parisi. So, but that's just my opinion. I agree with you. I think they should be careful, and I definitely think the Wild should get out of the habit of trying to make trades with Buffalo and Arizona. I mean, there's a reason why these guys are on losing teams and never win, and the Wild just keep on bringing them in here. So I would definitely stay away from the losing culture players. I do think that Evander Kane is going to help somebody. Like if St. Louis got an Evander Kane, or like that guy is itching to play in the playoffs for the first time. That's to me that's a different animal than a Marty Hansel. Like Evander Kane is a thoroughbred of a hockey player. Tough, skates a gazillion miles an hour, has great skills. Like to me, that's a totally different type of. Like to me, I look at a Kane move, a Hoffman move, as these being kind of different animals than Hansel. Like I just don't think that the Hansel deal made sense from the beginning. I think what happened, I still believe it. I don't know if the Wild would ever agree to it, but I just think that Chicago marched into Minnesota twice last season when the Wild were last February when the Wild were motoring along and had the most points in the conference, and Jonathan Toews lit them up both times. And I think they all of a sudden went into the bye and like, holy crap, we got to get ourselves a center. And Hansel was considered the best center, at least on the market, by them. So I was surprised that when I found out after the fact that the Wild came close to training for Hansel the year before, according to the source. So it was like, clearly they liked him. So I don't know. And remember also, like there were a lot of things. They tried for Druin for a while. They tried for Druin last summer. Same thing, like that Druin deal, they thought they were getting him last summer. And then all of a sudden he went to Montreal. Then next thing you know, the Pominville, Scandella, Foligno, and Ennis deal is done. Same thing with Johansson. They went after him. They went after Druin previously. So they've, a couple times been, runner-up. Let's put it that way.
We'll do some Twitter questions here in a second. If any of you have any more questions, just walk up. I'll hand you the mic. It'll be that simple. Oh, here we go. Ken's here.
Counselor?
So, as you know, I've been a big Dumba fan, so I'm glad to see him finally play.
Yeah, right.
Two questions. You may have answered the first one already. Is there any chance Murphy, Sealer, Susie comes up from Des Moines?
Well, I
just
mean,
have a seventh D?
I think that maybe even the sixth D. I mean, let's be honest. I don't know how much rope Riley's going to get.
Yeah.
He was so bad in Dallas. It was unbelievable.
It was horrible.
Like I watched his shifts again. He didn't have a good shift. Started with the breakaway.
Right.
And so. I think they're going to give him his chance tomorrow, but I do think that eventually, the good news is on a 5-game homestand with games separated, you don't have to sit there and rush somebody in here in a non-emergency situation. And obviously, if they get banged up, I'll be interested to see what happens because Murphy hasn't been great down there. I think Sealer's ahead of Susie, so I think he'd probably be. If you're willing to put Prosser on the left side, then Murphy would be the guy. If you don't want to put Prosser on the left side, then Sealer would be the guy. It would be most likely what I'd guess.
Last question.
Yep.
Is Eck ever going to score? Get a goal, I should say.
You know what stinks is that I will say I think the last 2 or 3 games he hasn't been nearly as good as he was when I wrote that big story and thought he was like going to get. Like Dallas, everybody was bad, but he was bad. I thought the game before that was Vegas. I didn't think he was good that game. If I remember correctly. No, he might have been I can't remember. There have been 3 games lately that I thought he wasn't very good, and I didn't think he was great in St. Louis. But but he's a heck of a player. He's just gonna, he's not gonna be the goal scorer that probably everybody thinks he is. But it's early too. I still think he's gonna put up points in his career. Yeah, only a faster Mikko Koivu. So, see you, Ken.
Thanks for coming by.
Yep.
We appreciate it. Again, we're at Fixology Repair, downtown Minneapolis, right by the Dunn Brothers, south of Wells Fargo Center, across from Taco John's and My Burger. I have a follow-up question about Zucker. Also, let me know. I want you to think about whether you have any traveler coffee stories that are funny, because I didn't really give you your usual window to get into that stuff when we started the show. But I do want to thank, new to this program, but a long-time advertiser across the network, Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin. It's Hoaglund. Tony handles my insurance. He handles Michael's insurance as well.
Right now, 1 in 3 drivers is cruising around in a state of skepticism about just how much value their car insurance company is delivering. If you are one of them, State Farm agent Tony Hoaglund in Champlin can help you get to a better state, because he'll talk with you, listen to you, and help you put together a policy that has you written all over it, from cost to coverage, all backed by 24/7 customer support. Feeling less skeptical? Then call State Farm agent Tony Hoaglund in Champlin and officially get to a better state with State Farm. And you can reach Tony at 763-421-4900.
All right. Any funny stuff? Any goofy stuff?
No, I was just, as you were saying that, I'm like, I wonder if I renewed my homeowner's insurance. Like, I don't remember the last bill I got, so I should probably text Tony and find out if I'm all up to date.
I think he's heading to Hawaii here soon, so
you're
going to text him pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And as far as Zucker, and you're talking about the long-term contract, where does that fit? How do the Parisian Suter contracts affect their thinking on that kind of a deal? Does it make them gun-shy, or does it make it more necessary to lock up young
Zucker's
guys?
26, and the other guys were, what?
I just mean in terms of the finances of it.
Well, the cap's going up. The cap is supposed to go up. The cap's going to go up your normal amount, and then it's going to go up probably 6 or 7 on top of that. So I think they're fine there. Again, that's why it almost even makes more sense to give them term if you can get the dollars down and the cap hit down. And so, I don't think that Suter and Parisi would scare him. But I will say, there is going to come a point where you're going to have to think about Stahl. Technically, this summer is the summer you talk to him, and I think you talk to him. But the one thing now, and I was wrong on this. So like at the time when they signed Mikko, I thought they had no choice, and now looking back on it, I'm like, they probably should have waited. Probably would have put in, it would have ticked him off, but at least it would have given him incentive to play better this season, and he hasn't been good, in my opinion. I mean, he's shooting at a dreadful 4.3%. His 5-on-5 scoring is as bad as there is on this team, and for somebody that gets his type of money and his type of minutes, and so he hasn't been good. And so now, in hindsight, you're like, what was the rush? At the time, I even said publicly, I'm like, they had no choice because nobody on this team does what he does. But now it's like, So I will say, I know Stahl's been great, but you also... You sign him this summer to another 3-year deal or a 2-year deal, and now you're risking the same thing. That now Stahl's not motivated next year, or isn't as good because he's got that comfort level. And these guys are 33. They don't just become younger. They don't just become faster. They don't. They are. They're chasing something inevitable, and that's just Father Time catching up to them. And I think that is what's happened to Mikko this year.
Absolutely. From a Twitter question from Derek G. Johnson, will Suter allow he and Spurgeon to be split for the good of the team?
Well, again, I mean, that's a relative thing for the good of the team. That's so subjective. I still look at when they were split in December as not being for the good of the team. It looked good because Dumba, it sparked Dumba, but they were defensively horrendous as a team suddenly on the back end. So I still always look at Suter, and I mean, to me, their top 4 has been great lately. And that's with Suter and Spurgeon and Brodin and Dumba. So to me, this is, people have these I think they just have this perception of Suter of having more control than a player should probably have on this team, or in pro sports, which isn't totally unnecessarily untrue. But the fact that Suter wants to play with Spurgeon doesn't mean that it's necessarily, at least in my opinion, not for the good of the team. To me, I look back at those games, and they were lucky they were winning them. Every night Suter was facing odd man rushes and breakaways. It was crazy. It was 2 a game. And so, to me, if Olofsson can have the same impact on Dumba and vice versa, Dumba and Brodin, that Brodin had with the 2 of them, then I think that it'll be great. So I think start off with Olofsson and Dumba, and if it doesn't work, then now it's up to Chuck Fletcher to either go get somebody from the minors or make a move because I really like Olofsson's game lately. I thought Olofsson was great last night. Played 20 minutes. He was left side, right side. He was just constantly out there. Every time I looked up, he was out there. And before he was scratched these last 2 games for Riley against Vegas and Dallas, that was just Bruce Boudreau throwing a bone to the kid. They're trying to trade him, get him in the lineup. But there was no reason after the Columbus game to pull Olofsson out. But they wanted to finally put Riley in the lineup.
Our friend Lonnie, along with Russo's Filter, who is also known as Nick Henry. Oh, did I bust them? That I'm not supposed to say that publicly.
I think it's out.
They do a fan show on our network as well, the Minnesota Sports Fan Podcast. And Lonnie asks a question here. That show's been really well received too, by the way. It's for people who want to hear fans speaking very bluntly, and I'm saying bluntly is like the most mild term I can use. Lonnie asks, how many games do you think Burroughs will be suspended for kneeing Taylor Hall in the back of the head?
I don't know. I would throw that guy out of the league. I know they can't do it, but it's just so disgusting. Guy was, if you didn't see it, look it up on Twitter or YouTube. He tackles Taylor Hall, jumps on him, and then starts kneeing him in the head. Like, if the league wants to show the court system that they are protecting these guys from concussions, from all these lawsuits that's going on now, you throw this guy out for 20 games at least. Don't let him play the rest of the year. This is a star in our game that he did this to. There's no place in this anymore. I will say, I think the Department of Player Safety is real. This league is much cleaner than it used to be. This stuff used to happen all the time.
Yep.
Now, the reason why it draws so much anger is that you don't see this crap anymore. And Burroughs, for the most part, is I was shocked actually when the Wild played Ottawa fairly recently. Watching Burroughs on the ice, I'm like, oh my god! There's no even reason to have him in the league anymore because he doesn't even do what he used to do to make him at least somewhat useful. He was just an awful player, and now it's like if he's going to do that, just get rid of him. So I would hope they at a minimum give him 10. But if I was the league, I would say, you know what? Sorry, you're done this year. And you know what? Ottawa would say thank you.
I'm new to Instagram, but I am posting the shows along with some relevant pictures. So we'll have pictures of Fixology Repair along with this show. So if it's just another option if you want to get the shows there or check out photos that go along with this network, you can check me out there. And if you'd like to advertise with the podcast network or this show in particular, send me an email at jsouhan@startribune.com. I want to thank Todd Moritz of Sandvold Financial Group. Todd is the financial advisor we recommend with that very, what's the right word? Long-tenured and reputable financial services group.
Plan for tomorrow today. It sounds easy, but for many people it's not. The good news is, planning for your financial future isn't something you have to do all by yourself. Visit sandvoldfinancialgroup.com to request more information and ask for the tax-efficient insight of Todd Moritz, CPA.
Registered representative of and independent of Questar Capital Corporation. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Questar Asset Management.
All right, let's hit some more Twitter questions again. If you guys want to walk up and ask questions, feel free. Our old friend Mike Burgoyne, do us a favor and take Fletcher's phone away. I'm begging you. That's his question.
I knew that he would like the story that I wrote today.
Yeah. And his question was, why doesn't Fletcher learn from past mistakes? Do you want to handle that?
Not really. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, to me, again, I had no problem with the trade last year if they traded for the right guy.
Right.
And, like, there are guys out there that I think can help this team right now and give this team the ability. You know, I will say this. Like, I'm not trying to make excuses for this team because I know these losses, the Colorado, Pittsburgh, and the Dallas games are just horrible. But I do think that I know it's cliche, but once you get in, you're a dangerous team. Anybody. Like, I watched Anaheim the other night, and I'm like, holy crap, they are awesome. Like, if they make the playoffs, they might be a true contender to come out of the West. But they might not get in. Mm-hmm. That's this conference. And so same thing. Like, I know that fans are just freaking out, like, this team can't go on a run, this team can't go on a run, this team can't go on a run. But you don't know until you get in. So I'm not saying, like, to me, if you're Mike Burgoyne and they trade Sokolov or a Mason Shaw and a couple thirds or whatever, like, do you care? I mean, you know, again, there are still trades that should be made, and I know that there's some. I've gotten a lot of tweets lately, like, I hope he does nothing and this team just dies because it's been overdue for a change. This team, all right, that's your opinion. That's fine, but that doesn't mean that Chuck Fletcher should conduct himself that way.
Right.
His job is still to get this team into the playoffs and then to have them succeed in the playoffs. So, you know, I get the whole, you know, learn from past mistakes. But again, to think that Chuck should just go in status quo here into the deadline, especially when they just lost Brodin today. Like, the worst part now is that they lost Brodin today, because I do think that there are forwards out there that could really help them. But now, like, if you're Chuck Fletcher, you might have to completely alter your plans today and actually go get a really quality top pair defenseman. Because I just can't think, like, you want to talk about going on a run. I know that Brodin's going to be back in a month, but they've got to, like, you're right now barely in the playoffs, and technically you're ninth. Like, we're saying they're eighth, but Colorado's got a higher point percentage than them. Like, these 5 games in a row, you can't go 3-1-1.
Right.
Like, you've got to go 5-0, especially the way that this team plays on the road. So, you know, to me, you might have to go get a D, and sooner than later. I think that Chuck's really going to be watching these home games.
From Alec on Twitter, which position do the Wild need to address before the deadline? You're basically saying D. So we've kind of
I wouldn't have said that yesterday at 7 p.m.
Right.
But at 8 p.m. and 8:20 I would have.
Russo Slacks sent a tweet ripping you. I'm not going to read it because I care about your mental health. Let's see. Jacob Burkhart said, hooray for live shows. He also said, Friedman said on Hockey Central that Cullen could go back to Pittsburgh. I guess we've already addressed that one.
I've been writing about that for weeks.
Right.
I do think that, you know, I was talking about Friedman. It's funny that he brought that up because I was talking to Elliot about this at the Tampa airport when we were leaving there at the All-Star game the other day is, you know, about this whole thing. Like, I just, you know, and this might have been why Elliot even wrote it, is that I told Elliot, I still think that even if the Wild are in it, even if they're 7th, 3rd in the division or in the conference at that point, I think they would still move Cullen. That's the way I'm starting to think.
You've talked around this, but Marshall Scarre has a very specific question. The Wild's first, second, and 2 of the third-round picks, and Greenway, and Kaprizov, and Soucy for Evander Kane.
I'm thinking that he's joking, I would hope.
From Kevin, how has Ryan Murphy looked lately? How quickly does he get called up if Riley repeats last Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of the same thing. Like, to bring up Murphy, you have to be willing to put Prosser on the left side. And so do you want to take a defenseman that's playing pretty well right now and put him on his offside, or do you want to just call up Nick Seeler and have him make his NHL debut, and that being a concern? So it really it depends on what they, after watching them every single night. All I could tell you is that when this is one game in December when I went down there to watch Parisi, Ryan Murphy was hideous. And by the way, Nick Seeler wasn't a lot better. I mean, but Murphy that night, it was like you could just I don't even want to be here. It was right after he was sent down, and he became the minor league defenseman that he's been for a long time. Maybe he's one of those guys that is kind of bored with the AHL and was much better in an NHL situation. But he was that game I watched him against Rockford. He was awful. So, but how is he playing lately? I mean, he was -2, and I think he got actually, I got to make sure he wasn't suspended today. I looked at their box score last night when I saw the Brodin because I wanted to make sure everybody was healthy, and Murphy had some misconduct at the end of the game, like Rule 57-4 or 74 or something, some sort of abuse penalty. So I should make sure that he wasn't even suspended. So,
alrighty, from Justin Trevorrow. When Koivu finally decides to shoot, why does he always go to his backhand? Might be a good question for Bruce Boudreau.
I just thought of something, by the way, that we haven't talked about.
All right.
In terms of the backhand, I don't know. That's Mikko. Mikko does everything harder than it should be.
All right, what did you think of?
I was thinking about, we were talking about, we should have saved this for final thought, but you know what we haven't talked about is, have we done a podcast since the All-Star game? No. So the Besser story.
Oh, right. Yeah, please.
So here's a really cool story. So, I write the story going into it, and I think we pimped it on the last podcast, and I was really happy with it and proud of it. And you can still read that at theathletic.com. It was unlocked. I think it's locked now, so get a subscription. Vicky. And afterwards, he wins MVP, fan vote. So I'm like, well, I've almost got to write the final chapter, right? Because I just wrote the big story going into it. So I find out all the families.
Chapter 32 of the story is my favorite.
Yeah. So I got to go into all the families in the Lexus Lounge. So I go to somebody with the league. I said, hey, are media allowed in there? And they're like, no, but I'm not looking. And so what I did is I took my credential and I stuffed it in my pocket, and I just walked in there like I own the place, and I immediately started pretending like I was talking to somebody, and then all of a sudden, just out of the corner of my eye, I see Duke Besser, and I just sprint right to him. So now I'm with the family. Security doesn't even notice at this point. And then it was just an incredible, there were 8 or 10 of them. His mom gave me this big hug. But what was really neat is I met his stepbrother, Paul Matthews, and I met a guy that I'm sorry it escapes my name, and but he's boyfriends with one of the cousins, and they listen to the podcast every week, and I just thought that was awesome. They're just constantly talking about how great our podcast is, and here's just a couple of Besser family members, which well,
that's cool.
The percentage is most likely a Besser family member or two would listen, because it seems like he's got more relatives in this town than I mean, there's 1,000 Bessers. It's crazy how many there are. So, I would assume that a couple would listen, but I just thought it was really neat that they listen to the podcast and all that stuff. So, thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. We appreciate it.
So, that was my thought.
That was good. And
I don't know why Koivu shoots on his backhand, okay?
I'm glad you're annoyed about the question, though.
And I can promise you Boudreau doesn't.
Another one from Derek G. Johnson. Can you explain what's going on with Quincy? How is he allowed to go home instead of going to Iowa?
That's a good question. They just told him, go home. I don't want you in Iowa. I mean, the Quincy signing was a disaster. I said it at the time. he turned out to be somebody that didn't play well here, and I just don't think they wanted him in Iowa around their kids. So they just said, hey, go down there, but we'll sign you there, but, go home, get healthy, and skate on your own, and we'll try to trade you. And so Chuck was cloak and dagger about Quincy yesterday when I asked him. He almost made it sound like that this is somebody that he might be able to move the contract to. So I don't know if he has something in the works, because remember, they still got to dump a contract to sign Jordan Greenway, and maybe he knows that he's about to deal him to Arizona or somewhere that you take on there's teams out there that could probably take him on, and the Wild would pay the rest of it. So, again, the Wild are going to have to move a contract here in the next 3 weeks, and it's going to happen at some point, maybe right now.
Well,
so
it's funny you said, about not wanting Quincy around the kids, because I know in baseball, you think of AAA as the highest league, the best team to be on, but sometimes they like it when their kids go from AA to the majors and skip AAA, because AAA is also where a lot of guys are really bitter. These are veteran players, one step away from the majors, and it can be a nasty place.
Yeah, no, I think that it wouldn't have been a healthy environment to send Quincy down there. And so, we'll see if he's able to move him. I did talk to Greenway's advisor today, and I know that there are fans nervous that he's going to go and not sign here and become a free agent again. I'd be shocked. I think that when BU's season is over, that Greenway will be put in the mix right away here, sign, and if the Wild are in it, put right on the team and be playoff eligible. If they're not in it, then that maybe they have to do what they normally do and start the entry level next year and sign him to an ATO and put him in Iowa. So
you can listen by going.
The good news is that BU stinks, although I think they've won 6 in a row. But they're right now, if the season ended today, I think they'd almost have to win the Hockey East tournament to make the regionals. So his season could end in early to mid-March. And so, because it does not look that, unless something completely turns around here, that the Terriers are going to make the NCAAs, which start in late March. So we could see Greenway here in some point here in the next month. I don't think they'd sign him after the Olympics. I just think that'd be a bad thing for the Wild to do, to have a guy, essentially drop out of college and abandon his teammates in the middle of a BU season right before the Hockey East tournament. And I don't think that Greenway. I don't think that
What are
Greenway.
you thinking about?
I was thinking Mike Greenway. I don't think that Greenway would.
But why are you thinking about Mike Greenway when you're thinking about good hockey players?
Their names are close, Jim. Jeez. God.
I'm trying to rip Greenlay, and you keep talking over my insults.
Yeah. Those are really nice videos you have there, John.
Trying to change the subject. A few more Twitter questions. You can listen to all the shows at MNSPN.com.
I wish John would go to Italy, don't you think, Vicky?
How many more times are you going to talk over me?
He was a good drinking buddy there.
12.
Yeah.
You can subscribe at iTunes, subscribe at your favorite podcast app, or just follow Russo Hockey on Twitter with a million other people and just click on the links and watch them get insulted a lot. It's kind of fun. From Skylar Vasius, did Michael see the Marc-Andre Fleury tribute last night?
I did. It was very touching. Where's Skylar been? Skylar has...
well, we haven't done live shows.
Yeah, but he hasn't asked too many questions when we do tape shows, has he?
He's asked a few. He's been pretty much a regular. Let's see. Robert Adkins says that Burroughs should be given a medal. Well, no. He also says, if GM Russo were at the helm, what moves would you make at the deadline and the offseason to make the Wild relevant? Blow it all up?
Blow it up. No, I don't know. I just don't. I look at this team and I just don't see a. I don't know. I was talking to a St. Louis Blues player in the locker room yesterday, and I really feel like there's something about this core of group right now that they're great guys, they're good players, but I do think they're, I've said this it's like a broken record. I've said this on the podcast 1,000 times. I think they're tired. I keep on going back to that Holla quote at the end of the year when they lost. I just think that loss last year took something out of them. It's just, how can they have such a great year? What was it? Something like 10 goal scorers, 10 plus goal scorers, plus 50 something goal differential, second most points in the conference, score 5, 6, 7 goals a night. Some nights it felt like, and then collapse the way they did in the playoffs. I just think it sort of ripped out their soul. And so what I, again, would be concerned about if I'm Chuck Fletcher or management and Bruce is that these guys have it in them. I just think that's what's been the problem this year is that to play at the level they did last year, then to see it go all for naught, I think killed a lot of them. And so if it happens, I just don't know, especially if it happens again. I mean, there just comes a point. I remember when you and I were sitting in the press conference at the end of the year listening to Chuck, and he was just going on and on about the year and the year and the year. And we're like, yeah, but, there just comes a point where it's like, they've proved it, they've shown it. They just don't, they can't get over that hump. You can't just say every single year, this is the year we get over the hump. This is the year they get over the hump, and then every year they don't get over the hump, but then come back with the same group. So that's why I really do think that guys like there's that chance that a coil moves. Like there just does come a point where you got to look at the guys in the core that are movable and say, all right, now's the time. We got to do it. We don't want to trade them, but we got to. They've just committed to Granlund and Nino. I've got to think they're going to commit to Dumba and Zucker. I mean, heck, they designed their entire offseason plan to basically make sure Dumba was still on this team. And he's proven it. I mean, 10-plus goals 3 years in a row. Not many do you do that. I mean, he's played much better defensively. It's like that turnover that he had that one night, that crazy turnover that got him benched in the third period. It's like he has been a different player since then. I give him credit.
Time for either a last thought or a final question. Final question, if anybody wants to come up and ask one, now is your chance. We do want to thank John Hedges and Fixology Repair. You can find more out about them at fixologyrepair.com. We are right now at 601 South Marquette Avenue. That is the street address, the easier way to find it. Go in the Skyway downtown Minneapolis, just south of the Wells Fargo building, right across from Dunn Brothers, Taco John's, My Burger. Come out and check it out. And as John said, not only do they do watch and iPhone and iPad repair and things like that, but they also sell lots of cool stuff, including electric battery-charged hand warmers, extended life batteries, phone covers, etc. Thanks also to Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com, and Twill on Instagram. Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, and Todd Moritz, Moritz, of Sandvold Financial Group. Do you have a final thought?
No.
Does anybody have a final question? I got a final question then.
All right.
Just because I'm not going to let you off the hook. Because obviously you're in a hurry to be someplace, like Starbucks. Does this Wild team have anything in common with last year's Nashville team that squeaked into the playoffs and then played great?
Well, their blue line is as offensively minded as that one. The Wild are tied for first in the league in blue line points. But I don't think they're nearly as fast as Nashville was last year, and they're definitely not deep enough up the middle like Nashville. Like right now, Nashville up the middle are as deep as any team in the league. And Rene was unbelievable in the playoffs. So I guess I just said no. Another uplifting podcast. Good question, Jim. What do you think of the Super Bowl? What do you think of covering it?
The game itself was a blast.
Yeah, man.
It was a great game. There were so many great storylines. U.S. Bank Stadium looked fantastic. I'm on the record saying you really shouldn't invite a bunch of rich people who like warm weather to Minneapolis in February. Not a great idea. But the game itself was fantastic. The stadium held up and looked great. For me, it was a cool experience.
Did you catch all the writers that were on Twitter whining, being online going into U.S. Bank in the frigid degrees?
I was one of them.
They got annihilated.
Oh,
did you?
I was freezing.
Oh, okay.
It was
how long did it take?
It was like a 40-minute wait outside when it was 0 degrees. And it was classic, too, because the woman who was manning it, she knew that everybody was standing out. Everybody's just standing out there. Like, I'm looking at people from Los Angeles and Dallas and Houston. They're just not prepared for this stuff, right? And they weren't complaining.
That's
they were too
problem.
cold to complain. They were just standing there like this. And we walk up, and the woman, Minnesota woman, wearing a nice, thick coat, nothing on her head, but she's trying to make a point. And everybody who walked by, she said, could have been worse. I heard her say it could have been worse 85 times.
Yeah.
It could have been worse. The wind could have been blowing there,
That is true.
Yes.
Did you notice there was one guy that I retweeted from Philly? I think it was Philly, right? Philly, I can't remember. I retweeted it, and he complained about it. how it was unacceptable and everything, and he got destroyed on Twitter. And then, there was that probably 50 minutes that he was actually, after he tweeted it with his frozen fingers, that he didn't look at his phone again.
Right.
And so he didn't see how absolutely destroyed he got on Twitter. And then all of a sudden he gets into the press box, takes a picture of the awesome site of the press box. And then, and I saw that he tweeted that. And then next thing I know, I go back 5 minutes later, and that tweet that he retweeted complaining disappeared, deleted it. So, it is, I will say this, like I am one of those people, we're all, as sports writers, we get like, a little,
we get
jaded,
a little whiny and jaded. That's true.
But it's not like you drive. Like I just walked down here, which was just a frigid walk down here, and you're looking at like these, these construction workers working on the Marquette building there, and street cleaners, and these people do this every single day, hard labor out in the elements, and then you have a couple of sports writers that are like whining that how disgusting it was. And first he exagerated the temperature.
Well,
he
you
said it
don't
was
need to
minus
exaggerate
16 and it was like
I think
5.
it was the feels like.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
the
he
feels
should have
like.
put that because people,
here's
the
my
old
thing.
fake news tweets came out.
See, here's my thing. I don't feel sorry for anybody in the media who came here. I don't feel sorry for me or somebody from Florida, because it's your job and you prepare and you figure out a way to get it done. My complaints had nothing to do with media having to come here and cover a Super Bowl. What I'm talking about is Minneapolis tried to sell the idea that having the Super Bowl here would be a great thing for us, great thing for tourism, great thing for local business. The reality is, if you don't own a high-end hotel or a restaurant that the NFL rented out, you didn't really do very well.
Yeah. No,
and maybe you're an Uber driver did well.
Most even though Uber driver, I've had a couple in the last couple of days that said they did terrible. Like even the spiked rates, but you have to fight traffic to get in. Like you get one call in downtown Minneapolis 3 times or 4 times what you'd normally get, but you're stuck in traffic getting them, and you're stuck in traffic getting out. So
I had the same experience. So I'm not saying that media should complain. They absolutely shouldn't. But I think Minneapolis oversold the economic impact. And I think it goes to a select few. And I think the NFL, and I've heard this from people in the NFL and secondhand from people I know who know people in the NFL at very high levels. And they're like, we threw a party and people couldn't go outside. I mean, you go to usually you go to Super Bowl and it's outdoor music. Yeah. It's like an outdoor music festival. It's like almost a state fair atmosphere, and you just can't do that here.
Well, just at the All-Star game in Tampa, I mean, the parties that they had around the rink were crazy, and that is what that's where you turn it into an absolute event. So this was tough. I tried to stay away from it even when I was in town, and then I didn't come back in town between the Dallas and the St. Louis game.
Right.
But to get back to the original point, media jaded. Like last year in June, it was like 110 degrees, and we were trying to get into the T-Mobile Arena, and the arena was supposed to go open at 2, and we're all online at 2:45, and we all got work to do and things like that. And finally, I took control, called the league up. I basically called as high as you can get that wasn't Bettman, and I finally got the arena to let us in. And same thing in Tampa the other day. They weren't letting the media in because of the stupid red carpet thing that was going on. I'm like, So I'm like, who is the head here? And I went up to him. I introduced myself. I said, this is unacceptable. So first of all, I got a TV hit in like 4 minutes. It's an hour and a half to the freaking All-Star game. We got 100 media out here. Like, there's got to be another way for us to get into the building. That's not because they were using the media entrance as the entrance for the players for the red carpet. So finally, the guy, and I did it really nice. And finally, the guy's like, "All right, here's so I'm gonna escort you guys to the loading docks, and you'll go around." So I was like a hero with all the PHWA people.
Michael, you're always a hero.
I am. I'm just a.
Isn't
when
he
there's
hero?
when there's
Isn't he our hero?
I'm just like Fixology. When there's a problem, I just find the solution.
Oh, that was so slick.
Yeah,
Brandon was very impressed by that. Either that or he's going to pull out a barf bag here.
Brandon's like, my meter ended 10 minutes ago. I got a ticket.
This is what I remember about us doing live shows. The wrap up is longer than the actual show.
Yeah.
When I start saying goodbye, that's when Michael just empties his heart.
Let's listen to a little Trampled by Turtles.
All right, we'll do that. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. John, thank you for having us at Fixology Repair. Again, if you have any needs for battery, watch repair, accessories. I'm struggling with language all of a sudden. Hand warmers, phones, thank you, etc. Stop by Fixology Repair, either Mall of America, 3rd floor, or downtown Minneapolis, right south of the Wells Fargo building.
Pretty little city built on music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice, and I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
Holiday tips and fun facts from Paul, Kristen, and Dexter at Total Wine & More.
There's something celebratory about Bubbles. Our ridiculous selection of champagne and sparkling wines will make the holidays pop.
Who couldn't use a friendly wine elf? I can help you find the perfect bottle at just the right price.
Deep frying a turkey this year? A rich and earthy Chateau Neuf de Pop would make an interesting pairing.
Whether you're entertaining or just bringing the wine, we'd love to share our always low prices and ridiculous selection with you. This holiday, now offering same-day delivery at TotalWine.com. Cheers!
At Metro, the best deal in wireless is on. Switch to Metro and get 1 full Amazon Prime membership included every month. Plus, get 2 free phones from top brands like Samsung and LG with huge HD screens. All with 2 lines for just $90. That's the best deal in wireless, only at Metro. Plus sales tax and activation fee. Requires port-in of eligible number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. Limit 4 per account or household. Offer subject to change. Offer valid for new Amazon Prime members. Amazon Prime has a $12.99 per month value. Restrictions apply. See store for details and terms and conditions.